Let's take another example of simple functions that we can write in the C language. But this time we are going to try to overcome a barrier which I mentioned in one of the previous video, which is we want to be able to write a function which is not only accepting values as parameters, but is also capable to accept variables as parameters and act upon them. Okay, so this is probably a rather confusing way of putting it because I'm trying to avoid the technical jargon before I introduce it, but let's take a concrete example here. Okay, here is a function which returns nothing, which takes two parameters, which I'm going to name 1 and 2. Alright, inside the main I'm going to have a few int variable, int x equal 42, int y equal 99. Okay, here is the intent of this function. I want to be able to call swap x, y, and I want this function to be able to exchange the contents of variable x and y. Of course, that's a problem because x and y are local variable inside the main function, so they exist in the activation record of the main function. When I call swap, I create a new activation record. X and Y are two separate local, the two parameters of the function swap, 1 and 2, are two separate local variables which exist in the activation record of the swap function. Okay, of this particular invocation of the swap function. So pretty much I can do whatever I want on them. It's not going to affect x and y. So let's illustrate first how this is not working. I'm going to display x equal and an integer value, y equal and another integer value. Go to the next line. The values are going to be, of course, x and y. So I have a printf line here which is going to display what x and y are after I call swap, and display what x and y are before I call swap. Okay, and I'm going to write a naive version, I would say, of the code for swap, which is not going to work. It's not going to do much for us, but this is going to be our starting point. Okay, let's use a little temporary variable, tmp equal 1, 1 equal 2, 2 equal tmp. Okay, this should swap around the values of 1 and 2. Because the C language does only passing parameters by value, it's not going to swap around the values of x and y. Okay, to verify this, again, bunch of printfs. Okay, I'm going to printf before I start working inside the function. I'm going to printf here, and I'm going to put a tabulation, to show that we are inside the function on the display. I'm going to printf the values of 1 and 2. Okay, so I cannot access x and y here. That's the whole point, of activation record and variable scope. So I can work only on 1 and 2, which are my two parameters. And I am going to display them before and after I do my job. So that's going to allow me to make sure that 1, my function is working correctly, is effectively exchanging the parameter, and 2, it's going to allow me to make sure that my function is not working correctly, which means that even if I'm able to swap the content of 1 and 2 local parameters to this activation record of the swap function, I'm not able to swap the content of x and y. So let's get rid of syntactical errors. Okay, none so far. Let's give a run to this program. Here's what we see. X is 42, y is 99. Okay, so far so good. Then I call swap, create an activation record for this invocation of the function swap. Alright, so 1 and 2 receive the values 42, 99, so this is passing parameters by value. Okay, it's working just fine. I permutate here 1 and 2. When I display them again, 1 contains the value of 2, 2 contains the value of 1. So my function does its job with respect to permutating the values inside of parameters 1 and 2. Unfortunately, of course, when I'm done, every modification I did on 1 and 2 is in the activation record corresponding to this invocation of the function swap. It gets off the program execution stack. When I return to the main, what I find is x and y, which have not been altered at all. Okay, so this is just confirmation that when you are When you are dealing with a programming language which does only parameter passing by value, you cannot do that kind of operation. You cannot have functions which are going to be able to operate on a variable belonging to over scopes, okay, belonging to over activation record. So now we're going to try to fix this, and to fix this we're going to have to use pointers.